each of the members of the school board and the school leadership introduce themselves, and then and we'll talk a little bit about the process tonight. And then I will proceed to read the articles, and I'll talk about how we're going to deliberate those articles at that time. So,
okay. Hi, I'm officially Nicole Buck. Everybody calls me Nikki. And I'm the chair of the Harvard School Board. I've been on the board now for 8 years. And I'm going to say that this is the most challenging situation I've ever done.
I'm Colleen Smith, and I'm on the school board. Been on the board for 6 years. That's Roy, and I'm trying to remember how long we've been on. I think probably 7 or 8.
My name is Hannah Ben-Simone. I'm a graduate of the Heartland School System, and I have now been on the board for just about a year. So this is my first go-around, and it's great to be here.
And Heather Maneda will be joining us. She's been on the board for 2 years. She is a teacher and is teaching right now and racing over. So as you guys know, that I think
Nikki,
based on the turnout,
can I pause? I think, I don't know if home can hear.
Oh,
Okay,
oh,
And do you guys have a chance to introduce
I-
yourselves?
okay.
okay. We're just checking. to make sure. Oh yeah, you guys too. We're gonna have our administrators introduce themselves.
I'm Christine Bourne. I'm the superintendent this year, my first year as the real superintendent, and I don't know much different, but it's been a very, very challenging budget year. So it's great to have such a good turnout for this meeting. I think that's really important. So thank you for giving your time. We appreciate it.
And I'm Lindsay Perkins, the principal at Heartland Elementary School, and I'll second what you said, Christine. We are really appreciative of the large turnout in an exceptionally challenging school budget year. So thank you all for coming.
Elena.
Can home hear? Everyone at home?
And you need to introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the assistant principal over at Heartland, and thank you all for being here.
Okay. So I think people are here because they know from my emails and from the town report that this is an extremely challenging year. And there are multiple factors that we're facing this year. We're facing a way that taxes are being calculated and the way funding is being allocated to schools throughout the state. We're facing the end of COVID funding, and so we no longer have that. Because of the switch to universal meals and the way that poverty and free and reduced lunch is calculated in our school system, we are also losing funding on that front, even though the population of our school doesn't change. And the real elephant in the room is that while all of that is happening, facing kind of the dramatic loss of funding in our school from federal sources, our tax rates, our housing values have increased by 44%. So that means that the state is increasing all of our essentially increasing all of our appraisal rates by 44%, and making Heartland pay that additional amount into the statewide funding formula, which hurts. It hurts all of us, which is why I think all of you are here. So that being said, the state realized, the legislature realized that there was a bit of a crisis, and so they acted quickly in an effort to improve the entire state's system, and passed a bill on Thursday. So we, the board, are now reacting to a bill that is 5 days old, and we couldn't react last week because our administration was on vacation, a much deserved vacation. So we are here to present the informational meeting as we would normally present. But at the end of the budget meeting, we will take your questions, but we are also going to decide whether or not we want to go forward with this budget. Because part of the bill allows school boards to rescind their budget and vote on a new budget. I think you will see through this presentation that there's not a lot of wiggle room in the budget. Has always thought really hard about what our kids need, and we have not added excess things. And we are trying really hard to maintain an adequate education for our kids, one that makes them thrive. But also, we're all taxpayers, and we're all feeling this. So bear with me. The other board chairs said that I'm living dangerously by going this route, but I also really want you guys to see what we're dealing with. I am really excited to have this many people engaged and to potentially hear us work and to hear the thoughts that are going through our heads and to really see what we're facing as a board and what decisions we need to make as a community. So with that, we'll turn it back over to Matt. Some of this will look like a normal informational meeting, and then it will probably not look like a normal informational meeting. So
All right.
Still a lot of information.
Okay, so
Yes.
I'm going to do the traditional reading of the articles that are in front of you and are in the books that you have. I'm going to ask if people have questions after the first few, that we'll take those questions then. And then when we have the two budget-related articles, I will read those both. There will then be a presentation by the school board on the budget, and then we will take questions after that presentation, which I assume will be the meat of the discussion this evening. We will allow those who are with us online to participate once all questions of folks who are present have been answered, assuming we can facilitate it with hands being raised and that kind of thing. So we will do our best to make sure that everyone is able to participate. So with no further ado, Article 1 is to act on the reports of the Heartland School District officers from July 1, 2022 to July 30th, 2023. I'm sorry, June 30th. My wife mentioned that I should be wearing glasses now. But to June 30th, 2023. This is done by Australian ballot. Any questions on that article? Article 2, which is to elect the Heartland School Director, the Heartland School District officers for the ensuing term, which is also done by Australian ballot. Questions on that? Other than the fact that I don't think there's anyone running for the vacant seat.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
All right. Article 3, which is to vote that the Heartland School District is authorized to borrow money from the Capital Reserve Fund or a commercial lender in anticipation of taxes to meet the requirements of the school district for the ensuing year, and to authorize the execution and delivery of notes or orders to the school district. That is an accounting function more than anything else, but that is the article. Any questions on that article? Yes.
Is there a cap on the borrowing?
So the borrowing is used, taxes are collected twice a year. And so we borrow before taxes are collected so that we can pay our teachers. And so the cap is the budget. But the goal is not to borrow money. The goal is to pay our teachers and pay back the loan as soon as we collect taxes.
Any other questions on Article 3? Okay. So I'm going to read Article 4 and Article 5 together. Article 4, shall the voters of the Heartland School District authorize the Heartland School Board of Directors to withdraw up to $75,000 from the Capital Reserve Fund toward the Heartland Elementary School playground. And Article 5, shall the voters of the Heartland School District approve the school board to expend $11,541,199, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. Again, both of these items are going to be decided by Australian ballot if the school board decides to move forward. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole to do a budget presentation with the support of the administration.
So both are 4 and 5, should we choose to go forward, would be Australian ballot, and you would see that a week from today. Yeah. And then if we choose to rescind them, they would still be by Australian ballot and would probably be a month or 5 weeks later. So we are asking people to have to come vote twice, and the state has set aside money to cover the costs of 2 elections. So we're going to go into our budget presentation like we normally would. What I really want everyone to see what the school is, and that's what our superintendent Christine and our principal Lindsay are going to present to you, so you know what we're offering our students, and then we'll get into the details of the numbers.
Lena, if you could go to slide 10, and then Nikki, I don't know if you want to speak to that image.
Sure.
Which is
So this is an image that really resonates with me. It's messy. And teaching kids is messy. There's a lot going on. You can see that relationships are a big part, collaboration, being inclusive, allowing children to have their own voice. These are all things that we're trying to mesh into a school, because these are things that we believe if we can get kids into real life situations, include people skills, bring all of this together with the guidance of their teachers, we're going to turn out kids into a world that are functional young adults. And that is our goal. And this slide really highlights how messy it is, but also how important it is. Every aspect of this is a critical skill and things that kids need.
And the next slide, do you want me to take it from here, Nikki?
Yeah.
Happy to. The next slide is an image of our North Stars in our SU as a portrait of a graduate. There was some work a number of years ago that staff did is the entire supervisory union, where they came up with the 5 pillars that really are important to the students and communities and families that we serve: empathy, perseverance, integrity, communication, and critical thinking. And a part of that is some of these goals within, and slide, Alina, if you're on slide 13, talk about, we have 3 strategic plan goals within the supervisory union. The first goal being student success and engagement. The second goal being information and communication. The third goal being student culture and student wellness. And in the following next slides, we'll go into depth in each one of those. The next slide is around student success and engagement. And Alina, if you could hit play in just a second. What this video is going to show you, one of our incredible educators, Tina Skihan, she works in our library. She has taken on doing a morning news segment that airs every morning for all students. And here is a snippet of what one of those looks like. And Alina, what you'll want to do, it's maybe there's a stopping point at the end. There's a little extra at the end, but if you could stop when it's done, that'd be great.
It's the morning news today.
If you turn maybe try the volume on your computer, see if that works.
It's Monday, January 29th, and I am sitting here with my co-hosts, Finnegan and Miles. And what is for lunch
Should we put it on the microphone?
Hot ham, cheese croissant.
I don't know what that's going to
There
do.
is potato salad
What?
with a pickle.
Yeah.
That sounds delish.
Today is National Puzzle Day. What's National Puzzle Day?
Each year on the 29th of January is National Puzzle Day.
We need
It's
to
a
turn
day
on
to
the microphone
exercise
on.
your brains by doing crosswords, Sudokus. What are other puzzles that you could do?
How many things can you handle?
Yeah.
This is
What other puzzles do you do?
No.
We do space puzzles.
Grace, do you have a better way that we could
puzzles.
present this?
Like jigsaw
Okay,
puzzles?
thank
Maybe those are fun. So do
Yeah.
a puzzle today and exercise your brain.
Basketball.
So Lena, if you want to pause that, what I'll do is I'll skip to the next one and then we'll circle back. Grace, you just let me know when you're ready. And if you want to go to the next slide. The second strategic plan goal is around information and communication. And we are really intentional at Heartland Elementary School around building relationships between school and home because we recognize that collaboration between families and school is one of the most important pieces to help students be successful. Some of the ways that we do that is we have a weekly newsletter. We have classroom newsletters sent out by teachers. We use social media, Class Dojo, as well as the website for our school and supervisory union.
I'm going to stop us for just 1 second.
Yep.
It's very hard for some people to be able to hear in the back of the room.
Oh,
Is there-
are these on?
Is the audio simply for the, right, so this is not,
Okay.
there's no speaker system.
Oh, okay.
This audio is simply for folks who are trying to watch from home.
So we need to speak louder.
Speak up. I think
Can
I
do.
probably need to stand up.
Yeah. Okay,
in order to
we
be
can do
able
that.
to-
Yep,
To be
that works.
heard.
Teacher voices.
Second,
Yes. Yeah, blinded right there. Go here.
here we go.
Can you
And-
hear me
and
better
then
if
the
I-
second part is whoever it is controlling who is entered into the meeting, there are apparently people in the waiting room.
There are no people now.
There are no people now? Okay. But there were people let in the last couple of minutes?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So this is not, again, I believe, this does not go to a speaker system. It does not.
So we're
This is
projecting.
Simply to make sure that someone who is at home is able to hear.
Okay.
Okay, so
Those are speakers, but those are purely for people to speak from home. So that
to you, yes.
Got it.
Yes, these are, the owls, creepy looking owls are for being able to hear them when they speak.
if the microphones went straight into those speakers.
That would be ugly.
That
would be horrible.
Okay,
Thank you, Matt.
There
Thank
are no speakers for people.
Got it. Helpful to know. Thank you. So we'll speak nice and loud. Thank you. So in terms of information and communication, those in the back, does that voice level sound okay? Okay, perfect. So we do this, we recognize the importance of building the relationships between home and school because that is how we believe that students are going to be their most successful selves. So we work really intentionally on doing that. Some of the ways that we do that are newsletters that we put out weekly, Wildcat Weekly. We use classroom newsletters sent out by teachers, social media, Facebook, as well as Class Dojo, which is a more controlled app that more families have, where if we have an event coming up or we have a special thing that we're doing, we'll put it on there so families can access that really easily from their phones. Additionally, we put on 4 community dinners per school year. 2 of them are typically done during the school day. We'll have them as lunch with a loved one, which we'll touch on in a few more slides. And then 2 evening community dinners that are for everyone within our Heartland School community. We also put on Title I sponsored events, and the next slide is going to get into one specifically that we had called Camp Read a Lot. So if you go to the next slide, this was a Title I sponsored event. It was really geared towards our K-3 learners, recognizing the importance of early literacy skills for our students. If we can hone in and really master those very intentional skills for our youngest readers, it will allow them to be successful readers as they continue. That change says right about grade 3 goes from the learning to read to reading to learn stage, which is why we really honed in on grades K through 3. We had activities, fun activities for kids. We had VINs here with a raptor and some other birds. It was wonderful. We had a canoe in our multi-purpose room. Additionally, our librarian, Tina Skihan, had some information for families and how they can work with their students at home, because we recognize that educating a whole child doesn't just happen at home, it happens at school, I should say, but it happens at home as well. Okay. The third, culture and student wellness. The board has been wonderful in supporting winter activities for all of our students. So any student that is in our building K through 8 has their choice of a winter activity, which happens on Wednesdays from when we come back from the December holiday through until right around February break. This year we had one snow day in the mix, so tomorrow happens to be our last winter activity day. Students are able to choose from outside the building. They can go swimming, they can go bowling, and they can go skiing. Skiing being by far the most popular. We have about 120, 130 students that have chosen to go skiing. And we are very thankful for the board's support in what it's done for students is it's gotten rid of any burden if a student is not able to afford rentals or the passes to go. That is funded locally by school dollars, giving students and staff the opportunity to grow and build relationships with each other in a way that is outside of the walls of the classroom, which when we ask students, we have a student rep that is typically at our board meetings, and what she has described in her conversations with students is that has been one of the most enjoyable experiences for the students at Heartland is the opportunity to be able to participate in winter activities. Okay. Oh, and I should add one more. We also do 2 times per month, we do an all-school assembly. We call them the Wild Cat wrap-ups, and you'll see a couple of those pictures here where you have some students taking some toilet paper and wrapping up a staff member, which was a really big hit for both adults and students alike. And that last picture there is some games that we play in trying to bring our entire school community together. Okay. And the third, culture and student wellness. I talked a little bit about lunch with a loved one. They happen 2 times a year, November. And then we just had one the Friday before we went on the break for February. And I will say the one that we just had before this break was probably one of the most well-attended events that we've had. We had a lasagna bar with some beautiful pink and red decorations for families to come and enjoy a meal with their students. And so many people, so many families, so many grown-ups were very grateful to be able to enjoy a meal with their child. And we additionally did a grades 4 through 8 band and chorus concert in the fall. There is one also coming for our younger grades as well, but it was in a packed house that evening with beautiful music by many of our musicians at Heartland. And then Alina, I don't know if we want to try to go back and play that video. Do you think that's working now? Okay.
It's the morning news. Today is Monday, January 29th, and I am sitting here with my co-hosts, Finnegan and Miles. And what is for lunch today?
Hot ham, cheese croissant, and there is potato salad with a pickle.
That sounds delish.
Today is National Puzzle Day. What's National Puzzle Day?
Each year on the 29th of January is National Puzzle Day. It's a day to exercise your brains by doing crosswords, Sudokus. What are other puzzles that you could do? What do you think? What kind of puzzles do you do?
We do space puzzles, fire truck puzzles,
Like jigsaw
car
puzzles?
puzzles,
Yeah, those are fun. So do a puzzle today and exercise your brain.
basketball, shag patrol, 3-5 boys away games,
At Ottaquiche at 4:30.
middle school girls practice,
At 3:30.
middle school boys home games.
Heartland A is at 5:30 and Heartland B is at 6:30. That's it for the morning news today. Remember to have a great day and exercise your brain. Thank you to Miles and Finnegan for helping with the morning news today.
in this. And it's a really wonderful way to get students editing, feeling comfortable and sitting in front of a camera, which can be really scary for a lot of people. And it's brought a lot of joy daily to all of our students. On the right-hand side, you'll see a picture of a student holding an award. Once a month, we do what we call the Heart Awards, where teachers nominate students that are showing, and it's a HEART acronym, all of the attributes where we celebrate them. We invite their families. We have some coffee and some pastries, and we take a moment to celebrate the incredible work that students do every month. And then, Alina, I think we then go down. Slide 19. Thank you. And circling back to culture and student wellness, I wanted to highlight what are some of the large support systems that we have in place at Heartland to really help the idea of student wellness and culture within the building. We currently have 2 full-time school counselors that they teach social emotional learning. They work with students one-on-one as well as running small groups and support students as needed. We have 1 mental health clinician that we partner with HCRS, a local outside agency, to help support and provide services for those students that require those level of services. We have 2 social emotional interventionists. They provide proactive support for students, as well as they're largely a lot of the responders when we have to respond to a behavior within a classroom or another location. And what additionally we have, they're called behavioral interventionists. Again, we partner with HCRS, and those are largely identified in the realm of a student plan, a 504 IEP, and those are specifically needed for individual students determined by a team that includes the families and students involved. Okay, and the next being, what do we help within the community? And how do we meet the needs of students? And we try to do that in a variety of ways. We do that with special education for students that qualify and that need those services. We utilize We Are Hope, which is an outside service, clinicians, school counselors. Some of those are in-house. The school counselors are in-house. Both We Are Hope and our clinicians are outside that we partner with. We have the opportunity to have algebra for our 8th grade students who qualify for that at Windsor High School, and that happens daily. So we have students are dropped off at Windsor High School and they're bused back to Heartland for the remainder of their day every day. And additionally, we have free meals for all students. And for this year, what's new? We have a student rep on the board, Wesley Ogilvy, who has been an incredible asset to our board and is really bringing us a fresh perspective on what she and students in the building are feeling like on a monthly basis, which has been really, really refreshing. We are working intentionally on creating more engaging Title I events. So the example, the Camp Read a Lot that we did was definitely a high interest, high engaging event for families and students. And what we've tried to do is have conversations around, the school family, around what they want to see in a potential, which I know is something that we may discuss tonight, is the potential for a new playground. We've talked to families around what would they love to see, what would students love to see, to create a vision board so they could help have a voice in, this potential opportunity that we'll explore. Right. The funding sources that we have at school, we use local tax dollars, the State of Vermont Education Fund, private grants. The PTO has been a generous sponsor as well. Generous donations from families, teachers, community members, as well as volunteers. All right, yep.
All right, so I'm just going to share briefly some of the successes and challenges at the SU level and talk about the SU assessment and how that impacts your local budget. I won't be long, I promise. But just want to share that at the supervisory union level, we are continuously working on creating effective and efficient systems to support all the needs of all our students and to run our buildings. Our priority goal this year, as you heard from Lindsay, we have the same goals, is culture and student wellness. And You may or may not know that we have many, many students who are struggling significantly with mental health issues. And those issues manifest themselves in many different ways. So it could be extreme behaviors, it can be truancy, it can be academic failures. Yes, I can try. And I was a teacher for 23 years. Yes, I will work very hard to do that. So I was talking about the mental health needs of our students, and they do come out in ways, in all different ways in our schools. And because we believe in educating the whole child, which you heard Lindsay and Nikki talk about, we know that students can't thrive unless we're meeting those needs, those mental health needs, those social emotional needs, those physical needs, including feeding our students. And so we work really hard to do that in our schools, in all our schools in the SU. I'm really proud to announce that this year we hired a coordinator of diversity, equity, and inclusion at the SU level, which is something that we've been working on for several years. And her name is Tracy Price, and some of you may have met her or worked with her. With Tracy's help, we're really working to ensure that all our students are included and they feel a sense of belonging and they're represented. And that really helps address mental health needs and culture needs in our buildings. So that is one addition to the SU budget that was in the budget for next year. Can you hear me? Yeah.
We're going to finish the presentations.
Okay. Can you hear me though?
Yeah.
Okay. There are 3 seats. There's a whole front row here too. That's open. Thank you. So anyway, I wanted to say that some of your local tax dollars go to those supports, and I want to tell you how grateful we are in our schools today. We are being asked to do more than we've ever been asked to do. So I just wanted to make a point to thank you for that. The other goal that we've been working on diligently for the past couple of years is student success engagement. And this year, the past 3 years, we've been implementing a framework around learning, which is really helping students with voice of choice, with leadership, with agency, and we're really working hard on that because we know that impacts student engagement. Students have some ownership over their learning, what they want to learn, how they want to learn, they're more engaged. So we're working hard at that level. We've also adopted a new ELA curriculum, which was piloted last year and we're in the implementation phase this year, and an updated math curriculum. And we're really expecting that those two adoptions will really impact students.
And ELA is English Language Arts.
English language arts. So a question often comes up, if you can go forward, Alina. So this is the Heartland School District budget, and the question often comes up, how much of your budget is yes to it? So this slide demonstrates that your local budget, about 76% of your local budget goes to your local budget. And the other areas are SU expenses, which is about 24% of your budget. It's demonstrated in a different way on the next slide, which is out of every dollar, how much of your tax dollars go to the SU budget, your local budget, into the SU budget. So roughly 76 cents of every dollar goes to your local school. Special education, which you know by law is the SU level, is about 13 cents. And the numbers fluctuate, but not very much year over year. Admin and operations, that's your business department, curriculum, PI coordinator discussed, HR, myself, IT, transportation. That is roughly 8 cents out of every dollar. The early childhood program, which is at the SU level, is 2 cents out of every dollar, and food services is 1. So I hope that's helpful in answering some of those questions. And I'm going to stop there and turn it back over to Lindsay, who has a much better teacher voice than I do.
All right, then a couple more slides, Alina, I think goes into, fiscal year 2025. So then if you go to the next slide, What these slides are going to outline is student enrollment, high school costs, budget goals, changes from FY24 to FY25, proposed budget as it stands in this moment, and the supervisory union assessment and tax rates. So next, yep. And we thought it would be important to highlight not just the K through 8 students, because we still educate K through 12 students, although K through 8 go into this building. So that's why you'll see the numbers that you do, that these are K through 12. So we highlighted for the last 4 years, with this current year 23-24 with 399 K through 12, which is a small drop from last year with 405. But we've stayed right around the same mark. You know, certainly in 2020 and 2021, it was a little bit higher. Some of that was families deciding to homeschool due to COVID and then have made the choice not to return. That's just one of the factors. But we thought it would be important to highlight K through 12. Oops. The next is high school tuition costs, which we wanted to highlight for you from the school year 2020 through until now. So what is currently for next year for high school tuition only for 24-25 is $3,418,661. And the dollar difference of that is about $398,671 at about a 13%, just over 13% increase. And it is important for us to note that about 30% of our K through 12 students are of high school age, 9 through 12, and it does take up about approximately 30% of our total budget.
I'll just highlight how we come up with these numbers. These aren't estimates, like they're based on the number of kids that we're sending to high school. So we know the kids that graduate from 8th grade. We also poll the kids that have been homeschooled or have been in private schools that were now our responsibility to send to high school. And then we specifically ask which high school they're going to. And so oh, now I'm in the lights. So we know exactly how many students we have, not exactly, but as the best as we possibly can, how many students we have, exactly what high school they're going to, or what high school they tell us they're going to. And then we know the tuition for that high school. So the fluctuation in these costs is somewhat related to the increases in the high school rate, but it's also related to how many kids we're graduating versus how many we're sending. So.
Thank you, Nikki. The budget goals and changes. So the goals is certainly to maintain a staffing plan and program of studies which supports our whole child, intellectually, social, emotionally, as well as physically. It is our intent to bring forth a responsible budget that additionally meets what are called educational quality standards, and in parentheses, we call them in the education world EQS, educational quality standards. And last year, it's important to note that last year we did decrease the budget by 1 full-time teacher. So that was something that we felt that was important to point out, that we did make that intentional choice last year to decrease the budget by 1 teacher. The changes that we are proposing as it stands now is the addition of the construction of a playground, which is currently 25 or more years old. Also does have caution tape around parts of the playground because they are not safe for students. And it is certainly an important, because we believe that students learn through play and that it is an important part of how we develop the whole child. Additionally, we would like to add 2 full-time educators, and they are currently in the building as it stands, and they are ESSER funded. So the last few years we have utilized ESSER funds that have come from the government. So those 2 teachers are currently within the school building currently.
ESSER is the education speak for COVID.
Yes. So those 2 staff members already are within the school building and serving in a classroom teacher capacity now. And as it stands now, we would also love to add an additional 1.0 full-time instructional coach. This position has currently been posted, is not filled, and it was funded with title funds. which we anticipate in this moment, similar to what Nikki had described, we anticipate in this moment that we will not have access to the same level of title funds that we have had previously and currently have. So that as the budget stands now would be something that we would like to add in the budget. I want to talk a little bit more about EQS, Educational Quality Standards. So they are getting updated as it stands by the Vermont Agency of Education. They're currently under consideration for adoption. They provide the following language on class size specifically. In grades K through 3, when taken together, shall average fewer than 20 students per teacher. In grades 4 through 12, when taken together, classes shall average fewer than 25 students per teacher. I want to point that out because the next slide goes into depth. The grades, if you go to the next one, Alina, thank you. The grades and the amount of teachers that we have per grade. So K through 3 shall average no fewer than 20, or no more than 20, I'm sorry. And that 4 through 8, no more than 20, was it 24, 25? 25, thank you. So currently, as it's our current kindergarten class has 30 students with 2 teachers. First grade has 33 students with 2 teachers. Second grade has 30 students with 2 teachers. Third grade has 25 students with 2 teachers. Fourth grade is 27 with 2 teachers. Fifth grade has 25 students with 2 teachers. Sixth grade has 16 students with 1 teacher. Seventh grade is 39 students with 2 teachers. And 8th grade has 27 students with 2 teachers. And our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is all in a middle school. So there are 5 core teachers where all of our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders rotate throughout the course of their day. Nikki, do you want me to turn it to you from here? Okay.
Okay, so now we get into the hard part. Show it next time.
Okay, so this is the budget, and these are our previous budget years, and this is the budget as we proposed. So you can see that we have an increase in wages. Part of the increase in wages is the addition of the teachers to the local fund that were previously federally funded that would now need to be locally funded. The increase in benefits is a 20% increase in healthcare on top of the added benefits for those staff members.
Which is negotiated at the state level.
Yeah.
Out of control.
Yeah, we can't, the healthcare is not in our control. The state does that for us. Contracted services are some of the services that Christine or one of you, Christine or Lindsay highlighted. Those are the people that we bring into the building to provide additional mental health work and many other things. So we're decreasing those. We have a slight increase in maintenance, but those numbers are really small in comparison to the entire budget. Transportation is projected to go down a little bit, and that transportation is transportation like the busing of the regular school day is handled at the supervisory union level. The transportation that is in the local budget is field trips and our athletic competitions for our middle school students. Tuition, we talked about when we talked about the high school, so that's our high school tuition. That is not a number that we have control over. The high schools tell us what the tuition is, and if we send a kid there, that's the tuition we pay. But I also, it's 30% of our population and 30% of our budget. So it's reasonable, but it's also a very large increase. Supplies, we have tried to cut, but again, small number in the grand scheme of things. The assessments is the supervisory union assessment. So the supervisory union covers all of our special education costs, all of our transportation costs, all of our food costs, and they also oversee the buildings and all of those other personnel. They pay our teachers. So all those functions, the business office. In the capital equipment item, which you can see is a larger increase, that is where that playground is located. And I know it feels silly to be in this tough budget year to be coming and saying that we need a playground. But we also have caution tape on our playground. Because every year has been a tough budget year, and we have really tried to not add things in if we didn't need them. And it's great. This is the year we need it. So you can maybe sense my frustration. Our energy costs, look at slight decrease. A few years ago, many of you might remember, we won a solar tracker because of our participation in Walk to School. And that has helped with our energy costs, which is exciting. We also, just from an energy standpoint, we get a lot of our energy from the Heartland, the Lulsbrook Dam, and that energy generation. So feels good to be getting our power from Heartland. And so all of those combined increase the budget by just over 1.5 million. It seems like a large number, but we've shown you where that's coming from. And we really, as far as changing the number of people in the building, we're talking about adding one staff member that is not currently there. We're trying to maintain the quality of services that we gained with the ESSER funding. And then that, knowing that we were going to lose the ESSER funding is part of the reason that we cut the teacher last year. We knew that this was coming. We felt that we lost, sadly, one of our teachers passed away. We lost that teacher, but that we didn't choose to rehire that position because we knew that we were going to be facing the situation this year. So let's see, I don't even know what the next slide is, so I'm going to use your computer. So that's where we are. So our next slide is the projected tax rates. So these are terrifying. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw these and I immediately was like, how are we going to pay for this? So this is where the CLA comes in. The CLA, so if we, before the CLA, our tax rate would be $1.7 per 100 house, which is lower than this year. When you add the CLA on top of that, you add 76 cents. And that brings us up to the 1.26, or sorry, 2.46 tax rate that you are seeing right there. And so the way that works is that we calculate the budget based on the state's funding formula. And then we have to multiply that by 1.44 because our CLA, or divide it by 0.69. And so I'm going to grab my phone. I asked permission and I haven't gotten it yet, but I am going to read, because I think Stacy Bradley, one of our listers, when I got the CLA number, I immediately called her and I said, this is insane. We aren't going to be able to handle this. What are we going to do? Is this real? And so she went to the select board following my email, because you can challenge the CLA. So she went to the select board and said, you know, can I look into this? Thankfully, the select board, also having to pay the taxes that the CLA is causing, agreed to let her look into it. She looked into it. She found some irregularities, but not enough to offset, not enough to change the CLA. And so I'm just going to read what she wrote, and hopefully I'll just ask for forgiveness. She said, I did look at it hard, but unfortunately there was not enough of a case I could make to pull enough sales out of the way that might have made a real difference here. It was a long shot at best, and unfortunately the sales have just crushed our reappraisal values from 2019 over the last 3 years. So our property values have gone up 44% in 3 years. It was something no one could have predicted or seen coming. Home values jumped to just unreal levels. The good news is we have a lot of equity in our homes. The bad news is what it's doing to our tax bills. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like, it's really hard. We're facing incredible tax increases, and we can cut at the school level, and we're going to talk about that now as a board. And I have put together so that you guys can see before we have this conversation what those cuts would look like. But I want to highlight just how tough this year is. So these are gross numbers. These are not written down in your book. These are numbers that I pulled together, so they may not be like to the dollar exact. Oops,
Next slide.
Alina, I need you to go to the next slide. Oh, next one. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the things that are within our control, we can control the number of staff members. And in this budget, we're proposing adding $300,000 in that number, the number of staff members. We can control whether or not we have a playground at the school. And one of the things that's also in the budget is a replacement of lockers that are broken and non-functional. So we can control whether or not we choose to replace those lockers. The things that are within our control totals about 570. And you'll see these numbers don't exactly add up because I just tried to pull them. Gross idea. Okay, the things that are not within our control are the benefits and the negotiated salary increases for our teachers and the state increase in healthcare costs. I removed the new teachers from that. And so if I remove those teachers, it's going up about $370,000. High school tuition, we cannot control that. That's going up just under $400,000. And the SU assessment is our special education costs, much of which special education costs are calculated literally based on the needs of every single individual student. So it's not like we gross look at everything and say, oh, I think we need this much for special education. Our special educator, our special education director looks at every single student's needs and what is on their individual education plan and costs out every line item for every single student to come up with the cost of our special education budget. And that is the bulk of the supervisor union assessment. So the total of the things that are not within our control that are increasing is around $1 million. So you can see we don't have a lot of wiggle room. And that's what the board is facing right now. So part of the new bill that was just signed into law on Thursday is recognizing that the entire state can't handle the education costs right now. And some of the goals of, there's a recognition that most boards don't have a lot of wiggle room. But if boards can wiggle a little bit, that may be able to bring the state down. There's also a narrative that some boards padded their budgets in order to take advantage of the previous bill. I think that may have happened, but I think that most boards are in a similar situation where they're just trying to meet the needs of their students and trying to be fiscally responsible. So that's what we're facing today is we're trying to figure out whether or not we go forward. We don't have a lot of wiggle room in the budget, but we're going to try and do our best. And there's other things. And this might be a good time for Elizabeth to just say whatever comes to mind. Elizabeth Burrows is one of our representatives, and she is also a school board member. So.
Yes, I don't serve on the education committee, I actually serve on housing.
No, it works for the people at home.
The people will want to hear you.
Education as a school board member. I have served as the school board chair, so I've been in the, luckily I stepped down as school board chair on the day we approved our budget. Not because of the budget, but a couple of things that I just would like to point out about where we are right now. That part of the conundrum that we're in is due to a bill that was passed last year, now known as Act 127. And that is a bill that prior to passing the bill, we've always had a very convoluted education funding formula. But part of our education funding formula allows for certain students, it acknowledges that certain students cost more to educate than other students do. Students in rural areas, students who are English language learners. I think there are about 6 or 7 categories. And there was a study done about 3 years ago, which realized that there were many schools, particularly in rural areas, that were getting short-sheeted on that, and that some of the weights weren't based on data at all. So Act 127 fixes that. That bill was 120 pages long, and louder. That bill was 120 pages long. And included in that bill was a measure that was supposed to, so for rural schools, we should see some relief on the pupil weights. And for schools that are in bigger, more populous areas, their taxes are going to go even higher because they've been getting breaks that they didn't deserve for the last 20 years. And so part of Act 127 was included what was supposed to be a way to ease those districts into their higher taxes over the next 5 years. It had in it a clause which I have referred to as the motor booty clause. It had a cap on taxes if you spent between 5 and 10%. Among a lot of districts in the state, it was felt that it would be fiscally irresponsible not to take advantage of that. Another complication this year is that we have not had for almost a full year, as of next week, a Secretary of Education. Usually, the Secretary of Education puts forth guidance on budgeting in October so that we can make informed decisions about budgeting. The Secretary of Education is supposed to put out data from the whole state so that we can make informed decisions about budgeting. And the Secretary of Education is also the person who would normally provide information about how a clause like that 5 to 10% range, normally they would provide guidance for school boards about don't touch that. That's for districts that are going to be punished with this new act. We didn't receive any of that. So then, and we also usually get an idea of what local boards are doing around the state. We usually get a picture of that in December so that we can make informed decisions about our budgeting. That also didn't happen until January this year. So there are all these kind of complicating factors that happen to be coming together at one time right now. We at Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union in January, when we all passed our bills, we all said, uh-oh, this isn't looking good. We got our CLA rating late. We realized that to even get under the CLA, in our district, for example, to even get under the CLA rating, we would have to close one school and lay off 56% of the other, isn't that right? Of the other teachers. So it's out of the question, but it's important to understand that the CLA tax rating is totally separate from the budget. Even if you shut down Heartland Elementary School, the CLA rating is still going to be what it is. you would have to deal with the repercussions of shutting down Heartland Elementary School and the cost of sending students to another district and all of that stuff. But the fact is that the CLA rating is separate from the budget. And there is nothing that this board can do to affect the CLA rating except make a good faith effort to make some cuts to their budget that will go into the pool of cuts that all the other districts, hopefully, will be making, which will lower all of the education spending statewide, which will lower the tax rate. Another question that's been asked is the state overcharging on CLA? I don't know. But the answer is, if the CLA is overcharging on the CLA, then that money gets returned to the taxpayers. So the actual tax rate goes down accordingly. So another thing is that Act 8 or H850, the bill that passed last week and was signed into law by the governor on Thursday, last Thursday, it did provide for money for us to be able to have a second election. It also, on the day that that passed out of the House where I serve, there were 7 school board members who are also legislators who got up and said, I am only voting in favor of this based on what's called the language of intent, which is what problem the bill is trying to solve and what the intention is with the bill. We all said, I don't include myself because I didn't say it, but they all said, we are only agreeing to this based on your promise that you will add more measures of relief. And so we believe that there will be other measures of relief added. I said last night at our supervisory union meeting that I believe that the bill right now for school construction, which is going to be voted out of House Education this week, I believe that that will get all the way through the legislature this session. It will take school construction costs or what do you call school infrastructure costs out of the education fund. And the reason I say that I believe that it will get all the way through the legislature is that the Agency of Education has already pre-approved Woodstock's bond for $80 million for their new school. The Agency of Education would not do that if they didn't see this school construction bill going through. Wrap it up. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
If there are other questions that come to the legislation in play, we can ask all of you for that.
Yes.
But right
Okay.
now, I want to turn over to those.
Okay.
So, yep. Okay, so we just talked about what cuts would look like. If we were to cut $500,000, we would cut the playground, we would cut the furniture, and we would cut the 2 positions that we have that are not filled right now. And so those are 2 people that we do not have in the building. One is we lost a Spanish teacher, resigned just as the school year started, and we have not been able to find a replacement. And we would like to have the Spanish teacher in the building. We budgeted for the Spanish teacher to be in the building, but since we have not been able to find a replacement, that's a position that we're willing to cut for the next year while the state tries to figure out what's going on. The other position that we talked about is the title-funded curriculum coach. That's a position that we think is critical. There's a very big reason we're implementing 2 brand new curriculums at the same time.
And we have no one right now to help our teachers implement those curriculums. But we have not been able to find somebody to fill that position, and so we would potentially look at cutting that. So that's what $500,000 looks like. I put up $1.5 million because that is what, that's what the increase of the budget was. If we were to cut, and you saw the slides of what we have control over and what we don't have control over. If we were to cut that, we would have to cut those 2 unfilled positions, the playground, the furniture, and then we would have to cut 10 teachers. And that's 30% of our teaching staff. We have 29 teachers in the building. This is also the scenario, if the budget does not pass, we will have to cut 10 teaching positions. And at that point, we don't really have a school. So the next slide is to get really drastic. If we were to cut so that there was no tax increase, so that you paid the same taxes that you paid this year, we would have to cut $3 million. And that's all the cuts we talked about, plus 25 of our teachers. So we would have 4 teachers left in the building. And so I mainly bring these slides up so that when people see the tax increase, they don't just look at the number of the tax increase, and that you see what that tax increase is getting, or what the school would look like if you chose not to have a tax increase. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to our moderator to moderate.
Okay. So everyone has been given a lot of information, and I am sure there are a variety of questions. I'm going to try to moderate questions to the extent that they are there, to make sure that different people have a chance to ask questions. Other people in the room, if there are questions from folks online, we will go to those afterwards. And then if there is a need for follow-up questions, I'm going to ask that the questions be directed to the school boards and to the administrators, and we'll go from there. So, questions? Yeah. And please identify yourself.
Bob Sensor, local resident here in Heartland. So I'm a little bit confused on the playground, because you're asking for a warning of $75,000 kind of capital budget funds. What's not clear to me is how much is in that capital budget. And then in the last slide, you showed $270,000.
Yep.
So I don't understand the discrepancy and how much is in the capital fund, which I believe, and maybe I got wrong, would be paying for any of the playground renovations, fixes, whatever.
So we did split the playground into the 2 different columns. A portion of it is in the locally funded taxes, because we think it's a critical function of the school, but we also believe that we can fundraise and offset with grants a portion of the playground. So we didn't want to put the entire playground into the local budget, because we do think that we can get some grants. So we put the rest of the playground budget into the capital reserve if needed, so that if we did not get those grants, then we would have a way to actually pay for the whole thing.
Is that?
So how much of it is being raised by taxes though?
Yeah, so the,
175?
okay, so 175 is taxes, and then the
The
rest.
total in the reserve fund now is $343,609.
300, you got it.
300 and, I can't see it if I do that.
I can yell.
$343,609 currently in your capital reserve fund.
Does that answer the question? Good. Yes.
Bruce Renfro, Park Roosevelt. 2 questions. One, you alluded to
Okay. We're going to ask people, because folks can't hear at home and it's a hybrid scenario, if people are asking questions, please come to the mic. If you can't come to the mic, we will bring the mic.
So 2 questions. You alluded to the fact that there seems to be an increase in mental health issues among the students. Is this a significant increase that's happening over the past couple of years, or? Where's this
It
going?
started before the pandemic, but the pandemic exacerbated it. In our youth risk behavior survey that goes out every 2 years, it really targets middle school girls as being the most. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, that's fine. No worries.
Scream it,
Um,
Christine, scream it.
The answer is, we had these issues before the pandemic, but they've been exacerbated by the pandemic. So we are seeing an increase in mental health issues with our students. I was mentioning a YRBA, which is Youth Risk Behavior Survey that goes out every 2 years. And we received our results, and it showed a significant increase in mental health issues with adolescent girls particularly. So that's an area of need that we know we need to address. But yes, we are seeing more mental health issues. And to be frank, the schools are being asked to help solve those mental health issues. And we're happy to do it. We just need the resources to make it happen.
And my second question is, the current budget that is proposed, I'm not clear on what that means to me as a taxpayer. How much per $1,000 of assessed value
Yeah.
are those taxes going up?
Back to that slide.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah.
that's a great question.
That is, yeah, I should have covered that. Next one. Okay, so you see the dollar difference column where it says 0.65 for the current. So I put the slide so that we could look at all the different cuts. For the current, it's 0.65. So it would be $650 per 100,000 house.
This is the proposed one.
Yes.
Proposed budget, as it is with the CLA, with the current state funding.
With no cuts.
With no-
Based on the appraisal of 2019.
Yes.
That's what the CLA
Well,
says, yes.
Well, the appraisal of 2019 times 1.44. Yeah, it's baked into that, yeah,
But at the current of the 2019.
yes,
Because the state is valuing us higher than that now.
yes.
And that's what's going into the increase,
That's what causes the majority of the increase.
is to try to level it up to what should be the amount.
Jeffrey Bell from Heartland. I wanted to congratulate you on all the things you talked about dealing with issues of mental health. One of the things that I look at the school as a place where people can escape to, where people can get to the help they need. I would like to encourage you to spend more time about saying what you're paying for is much more than the going skiing. It's about a place where people can come, where people can be heard, where people can be helped. This is so important.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Additional questions for those who have not asked a question before? Yes.
Mitch White, local resident. I'd like to thank all of you for doing what you do. I mean, I wouldn't want your job. I think you mentioned it, Nikki. I don't know if you are going to do it. Are you considering postponing the budget?
Yes. Yes. We're gonna, after we answer your questions, we're
Okay.
gonna probably let you guys trickle out and we're gonna try and make a decision. And you guys are welcome to watch us make a decision.
Okay. I mean, honestly,
might
I
be
mean, I've
tired.
lived here all my life. My wife and I have had 3 kids. All 3 kids have gone through school. They've done well. But the budget as it is, and that number, sorry, I just can't do it. I mean, but I do
increases-
appreciate what you guys are trying to do.
Yes.
Hi, Hillary Hamilton, local resident and a teacher in Hanover at the middle school. So I appreciate the budget struggles. I don't think this would be ideal, but in the budget manipulations, are there any thoughts about getting creative with staffing? Some of those grades, like the 3rd and 4th grade, could they be combined and drop one position that way? I know it's never good to lose a teacher, and I wouldn't necessarily go that route, but it might just be another way to manipulate the budget, for at least for a year.
Yeah, and that's, That's something that we've talked about more in previous years. We haven't had a lot of time to talk about this budget because it's been changing by the minute. But one of the challenges is that our future years, we need that teacher back. And so do you cut a teacher to hire a teacher? And as you can hear, we can't even hire for the positions that we have. And so we're extremely hesitant looking at those numbers and seeing what's coming through in future years to remove someone for 1 year just to add them back for the next year. If we had a teacher who was pregnant and said, I want to take the whole year off, that would be totally fine. But we don't want to.
But it's a risk to lose somebody and try and, hope to hire somebody back. It's been hard to fill positions.
Chris Hippenberg, I was a school-based occupational therapist for 30 years, so I appreciate the challenges and the other pieces that are there. And also nice discussion of the various pieces that you're looking for your community, but how about student achievement? Could you maybe talk a little bit about how are our Heartland students doing currently? I just would love to hear a little bit about the academic portion as well.
Yes.
Thanks.
Brittany's portion of the SU.
How about we take a question
While she's finding that slide.
because we went over this last night, so.
Yeah.
Hi there, Dan Gottsagen, local resident. I'm a former educator, and I'm actually married to a speech-language pathologist in the Hartford school system. So I know the struggles you guys are dealing with, and I commend the work you're doing. Really appreciate it. This gets kind of meta. So this is beyond like what the power you have. But what I'm hearing from educators is that the state funding system that we've had in place for a long time is what has created this untenable situation for school boards across the whole state. The CLA is definitely a problem. COVID, we have a lot of people move in and drive up our real estate costs. Equity doesn't help us if we live in Heartland, So, but I wonder to what degree, whether, I guess I would encourage maybe school boards to consider postponing so that the legislature can get the message that there needs to be serious thought about restructuring the way education funding works in the state, that the over-dependence on property taxes puts residents in an untenable position.
Agree.
Yes.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
This is one of my hot topics too. I keep thinking this, when you look at the change in the CLA from last year to in the last 3 years, the average decrease in CLA is like 20% across the state. That's revenue for the state. I mean, there's not a budget that's attached to that. Like, our spend is the same as it was. It's increased. We have increases in our school budget, but the CLA is not attached to that as far as I can tell. It's just our property values went up and now our tax rate is high, not because we have big education spend. I mean, we do, we're Vermont, we spend money on our children, but that's not what the CLA is doing. And I hope that the state can answer that question. What I've heard some is, school boards were padding their budgets. Well, our budget doesn't touch the tax rate at all. Like, we can decrease by $1 million and we're still at 2.24 because our properties are high or worth more. Well, my income's not more. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my income didn't go up 44% this year. So I don't know what the state is doing, and I don't know what they plan to do to fix it, but I know that a bunch of people are going to lose their jobs in Montpelier if they continue to ask this of their constituents who are going to vote or not vote. I mean, anyway, That's my rant.
Wait, thank you.
Take it.
I'm gonna, wait, hold on, I'm gonna continue Colleen's rant and also highlight. If we, as a community, choose to vote the school budget down, your taxes are still gonna increase by up to 20%. So, and then we won't have a school because we'll have cut 10 teachers and won't meet anything.
Well,
And
we won't
that's-
meet our educational standards.
What? So if you choose to vote the school budget down,
Yeah.
your taxes are still gonna go up by 20%.
And that's because, can you show the line on the proposed
Yeah.
budget that we will land at? So if we
Yeah.
have no new budget.
So we have
will
no new
continue
budget.
with last year's
We're at
budget.
16.95.
Yeah.
So your taxes are gonna go up by that much, and we're gonna close the school and have a crisis.
If we don't have a new budget, we go back to the old budget, and that was 100 or 10 million, close to, rounded up.
Point of reference.
Yeah.
This budget gets voted down. You guys will come back and present.
Yes,
a
if,
compromise.
yeah, if all of those get voted down, like if, yeah,
Just
yeah.
wanna make sure we got.
Yeah.
it's all
Yes.
understanding.
I'm sorry.
Well, and I just
Don't
want
want to leave
Yeah.
disaster. To lose together teachers, et cetera.
right, yeah. But, yeah,
But if we don't have
Yeah,
confidence.
I think the point is that the board will go back, will be charged with going back and creating another budget to present. They could present a budget that is $5 less. They could present a budget that is $500,000 less. They could present a budget that is more, since sometimes, rarely, but sometimes budgets that get voted down end up, or because people don't feel they're spending enough. I think a message would be sent that this is about taxes and the like. But I think the point that Nikki is making is that if they continue to come back to you and a budget continues to get voted down, the default is to go to last year's budget, which would still lead to a tax decrease. There is a scenario, just on a procedural basis, where they could present a budget that is a cut from last year with the consequences that are being articulated, and eventually to get down to something less, but they would have to choose to do that because they could, I believe, continue to allow with the last year's budget to be the one in action if they haven't actually presented and gotten approval for a different budget. So, I just want, it's a good point on the clarity. Yep. Lindsay, do you have an answer on the question from?
It's not as simple to pull up as
Oh,
on the
shoot.
spot. That's the struggle. So I'm honestly trying to find a good way to easily
Pull it up. So it may not be a question, because I want to give community members the correct numbers, but the system that we use, it's not as simple to pull it up in the moment. So let me
I
keep.
guess I can ask it in a more practical way, which is with all the mental health challenges and other pieces going on, are students learning the way they were learning 5 years ago or 7 years ago? Or have we kind of lost ground in terms of the basics of that component of education, academic achievement?
The strategies that teachers need to utilize in the classroom is different than what they needed to utilize in the classroom 5 to 7 years ago. Does that answer your question?
No.
No, it doesn't. Okay. In terms of so teachers need to meet students where they're at. And what we do both as our school as well as the supervisory union is we are constantly looking at student data, pinpointing what standards our groups of students or individual students struggling with. So from the Vermont State Standards that teachers teach to, we look at those standards, target our instruction in our small groups on those standards to improve student achievement. And we're constantly, as groups of teachers, looking at those scores and looking at those results. And the results come from a STAR assessment. They come from classroom measures that teachers do. They come from what we call exit tickets, something at the end of a lesson. And teachers are constantly looking at that data to tweak their instruction to meet the needs of students.
I guess I was speaking to, you had done every 2 years, you do a survey. I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time.
Okay.
Every 2 years, you do a survey to look at mental health needs. I assume there's something comparable, which is the numbers you're kind of looking for around academic achievement pieces. I was interested in a more general trend.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
And I can share that, in the past, we've used
an assessment called SBAC every year, share the results out. The state moved to VTCAP last year. Those scores are still embargoed. We cannot share them with you yet. So, I mean, in general, our students are, I don't want to say having to catch up, but having to catch up a little bit because of the pandemic. We did a SU board meeting last night and we showed the data across the SU. We were looking for Heartland specific, but I can say that the report showed that all kids are not necessarily where we want them to be, but most kids are making growth, which is the most important thing. So I hope that answers. Okay, sure.
I have a bunch of questions, but I'm going to call you.
Oh my God, I love this guy.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
He's the judge.
My name is David Singer. I'm also one of your 2 county commissioners. The question that's been directed toward my household that I would ask you is about a school resource officer. Has there been a decision made on that?
We have one.
Well,
He's
is
currently
that
in the
job
budget.
going-
Yeah, it is currently in the budget.
Okay. Could I ask what the amount, is it around 30,000?
It's I think it's 38, more like 38. Yeah, yes. Yep.
Okay.
This is just kind of a logistics question that if, Linda Genovese, I'm a resident here. If you decide to postpone the vote on the school budget, what would happen to the ballot where the school budget is there? Will you take that as a benchmark of what people thought about it? Because it will be unclear as to whether how that is
It will have an
used.
X through it.
We'll have an X through it. So we'll-
Somebody's gonna get a Sharpie and use it up in the next week.
I didn't want that to serve
Brian's
as a
last.
benchmark or a survey of what was thought.
Right, yeah.
And we'll communicate out all the details of when the next vote will happen and an
What it
additional
look like.
informational meeting, yeah.
Pat Richardson.
Pat Richardson. Do we still have property tax relief essentially?
Yes.
I mean, some great proportion of people, I understand, maybe not in this town, but generally
No, this town.
qualify for property
What was
tax
it, 45%?
relief. if
Yes.
they-
66%, I believe.
67%.
Yeah, so, I mean, there is that factor also.
Yeah.
I'm not-
And I'll explain that
not
for the
saying-
rest.
Good, thank you.
So, and there have been a lot of questions on the listserv, saying that I'm on a fixed income, I can't afford a tax increase. There is property tax relief. 67% of the households in Heartland are receiving some kind of rebate on their property taxes because their income does not match what the property tax in the community is. And so the state provides an offset because of that. And I imagine if we're at 67% this year, based on the new CLA, I suspect that we'll go up because none of our incomes are going up, but our property taxes are. And I did, to go back to Colleen's previous point, I did a lot of back and forths with the finance director at the Department of Education, trying to get my head around all of this because to me, it's nonsensical. We have a community where nearly 70% are deemed to not be able to afford their property taxes, but we're going to apply this huge multiplier to those property taxes.
Doesn't make any sense.
On a community that's already, and so it's not even like the state gets anything. It's just, so to me, it's all so broken. And I know Elizabeth's hearing this, and Elizabeth and I have talked a lot, like everything broke this year. And we are tasked with keeping the school going and hoping that things get fixed.
Does anyone, I'm going to just ask if anyone else would not ask a question has a question? Yes.
David Wysocki, local resident. I understand that the state of Vermont has close to $6 billion in unfunded liabilities, the majority of which are related to the state employee retirement fund, a substantial amount, 40% maybe related to the state teacher retirement fund. Now, is the Agency of Education charged in paying those bills? And is this part of an effort to pay off billions of dollars in debt that the state has accumulated in recent years? Can anybody
That
speak to that?
Way above my pay grade.
The state retirement fund and the teachers fund are both part of the payment of those are both part of the general fund. They don't come from the education fund. They're not part of this discussion.
But those figures are still kind of accurate, aren't they? $6 billion a month.
Yeah, I'm going to ask, we should keep the questions focused on the budget in front of us. Any other questions from anyone who hasn't asked a question yet? Okay.
So I'm not going to be your friend. Rob Sangster again. First, I want to say thanks. I've been to the school board meetings in the past during budget season. I understand what you're up against, but point blank, this is not sustainable. I've been saying that when our budget increases were, 5-7%, but this is just not sustainable. And I'll be real blunt, and I hope there's a lot of people across the state that will be joining me in this, but I'm voting no on this. Not against the school board, but we need to send a message back to the state, get this fixed. And if we just write letters, it hasn't been working. As citizens, we need to have a clear message back to the state, to our representatives, to say, fix this so that we can educate our kids in the way that they need to be educated. But thank you very much for the work that you did.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we go to the online questions, of which there may be some, are there any further questions? Here.
Mitch White again. The $850 million that the governor signed into law the other day, what's that going to do for the state's budgets?
$850 million.
Governor signed something yesterday. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, H850?
Was that it?
That was the bill name.
Okay, but it was $800 million, wasn't it?
No, that's just the name of it was, yeah. And that covers a second. So we're going to pay more for the previous mistakes so that we can have a second vote, so that we can try to fix some of those mistakes.
Just milk it, mom and milk it.
No. $500,000 to cover the cost of additional elections.
Statewide.
Across the state.
Any additional questions here? Okay. You able to? Nope. Okay.
Okay.
So, the final, if there are no additional questions, the final article is any additional business that one might have before this group. But I assume that's going to be covered. And what I think is going to happen now is that the board is going to go into a regular board meeting, do their deliberation, and make some decisions. Everyone is welcome, unless there's an executive session of some kind, which is not anticipated, to stay for the deliberations. We are not going to ask everyone to stand up. So because we don't have an audio system here, maybe a little bit hard to hear. So if people want to stay and are having a public hearing, there are seats in the front row you are welcome to. With that, I am going to bring the informational meeting to a close and allow the school board to have their school board meeting at this time.
And
does that work for everyone?
And I'll also say, I mean, I think we've had a lot of public input and dialogue. This is a time that the board needs to talk amongst ourselves. And in a normal board meeting, we would have public participation early, and then the board needs to get to work. And so
this was the public.
This was the public participation. This is the time that the board is going to engage with ourselves and figure it out.
And
Thank you, Eric.
thank you. I don't want to be in a line.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say, is can we reorient
Well, can we just
ourselves?
take
Oh, tell us when you're ready. Okay, we'll start again.
We're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Go,
Okay.
Hannah, make a motion.
Well,
We love you.
Sarah. Thank you.
Does the playground need to be, do any parts of the playground need to be removed to be safer?
The
More safe.
struggle as it is currently is it's a slide that's caution taped off. So in terms of
If you take it out.
taking it out, is there may be a different type of liability because then there's either a drop or then you try to create some sort of like.
Are they using the other part of it?
They're using the other parts that are not caution taped off.
My question is could we, like, what would happen if we just removed the entire playground for right now? Like, just got rid of the entire, whatever.
From the budget or the playground? The physical playground and leave it.
Physical playground, just
Level it?
level it out right now.
Well, that's part of the construction cost. I don't think it's worth
Okay.
investing in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we
didn't know
should
if
decide whether or not we're gonna rescind the budget
Okay.
first.
Yes, I'm gonna make the motion that we rescind the budget.
Okay, so Hannah's made a motion to rescind the budget. Is
Second.
there a second? Colleen has seconded. Colleen has seconded. Hannah made a motion to rescind the budget. Colleen has seconded. I do not want to see this recording.
It's gonna be awesome.
Okay, and now everybody at home saw that.
And we're all here, so we can just do a voice vote?
Yes. Yeah, we could do a voice vote.
Can we discuss?
Yeah, we can discuss. So now that we've had the second, we can discuss.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that, you know, if we kept Article 4, we could, with permission of the town, access $75,000 to make safety improvements. And we could keep the playground out of the budget, which I think, again, given that there's gonna be, some people have already told us whatever happens with voting no is a message to the state, fine, there's nothing we can do about that. And there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna vote yes because they're from Hartland and they're gonna do that. And then there's gonna be people in the middle who are going to need to see some good faith effort that we have really done everything we can to shave things off. I think for that reason, the playground just has to be out of the budget, but we could keep Article 4. If it gets turned down, then we look for grants, but maybe we have this access to up to $75,000 for take away the slide, get somebody to come and nail up, you know, plywood or,
Maybe we can find a volunteer.
I think the more challenging piece is that I'm really struggling with is the question about the 2 teachers.
I think that we just, for right now, and again, no year is gonna be a good year, right? I mean, every year it just gets worse. But, oh, you're so cute and truly everywhere. But I think that, again, on your whole thing of like good faith, I think we just, those 2 positions, we can't fill them right now.
So it's not human bodies.
You're not looking at human bodies. And I just think we, you know, I just think it makes sense to
take them out
for right now.
And then that gets us to, I mean, we said.
$500,000.
It's about $500,000.
Just those 2 things.
$428,104.
And then the lockers and the
That's all of it.
tables.
That's all of it.
So we don't even get to $500,000 with that.
That's the 2 teachers, the course bleachers, the 175 for the playground, the 36,172 for the lockers, and the $20,000 in furniture. So it gets you to 428,104.
Okay. I think that's.
I can tell you what that does to your tax rate if you want.
It's like 30% increase.
Yeah. It's
Oh
gonna
my
be-
God, you're like a pukey maniac. This is how we feel about the budget. This is it. This is the face of the budget.
Camera for everyone.
This is it. It's just like-
Okay, the things I want to say is that you gotta. Also, I was just like really trying to keep it quiet, so it's like just.
Reminds me of my
No.
Porsche.
No, there's just puke everywhere.
Okay,
It's fine.
So
that gets you.
I mean, that's gonna be about 2.36, right? 2.36, yeah.
Here, have a tissue.
Which is, so this was about 54 cents dollar difference, so $540
As
per
opposed-
$100,000 property value, increase. And, you know, if we, let's say you got rid of like, just as a thought experiment, let's say you just cut one more teacher, right? You're gonna save, so if that would bring you to like 100, that's 150,000 off about with.
No, it's 100.
It's about 100.
Per teacher.
Benefits, yeah, yeah.
100.
Do you want me to do that math for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it.
Yeah.
No, he does like about 550, so that would get you to like about 233 tax rate, which would be like 51 cents. Like you're basically gonna be saving $20 per $100,000 to actually cut a teacher, and I think that's not worth it,
That's
right?
not- I don't
you're,
think that's
now you're talking about like, you know, somewhere between $20 and $100 per household to have you really in a tough situation in terms of staffing. Like if we tried to create a combined 3-4 classroom or something, that's the savings. So, okay.
Right.
So do we need, so you guys are gonna come back to us with another budget, is what's gonna happen
We are prepared to do that tonight.
tonight?
Okay.
Okay.
But you first
And
have to rescind the budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we have a
Oh, we're
motion on
still
the table.
discussing it.
Yeah, you have to
We have to
decide if you're rescinding the entire warning, all the articles, or just.
I think just Article 5.
I think
So you're thinking just Article 5?
Yeah, I mean, 1 through 3 are just like,
The only question is really, people get confused in the sense of like, if we keep that Article 5 in there, people like think that
You're gonna have to
The
cross
school-
it out on every ballot, right?
your concern is
it's
that
like-
Article 4 might imply that we're trying to do the playground this year.
Yeah,
Oh, gotcha.
like, well, is there a way to
Can we
communicate that
rescind
it's-
Article 4 and, do we have to specify that it's for the playground?
We have to specify what it's for.
Can we
I think.
say for like grounds
Safety
maintenance? Yeah, safety improvements, ground, like, is there, I'm not trying to trick
No.
anyone, I'm just like,
No,
that
you're trying
seems like
to-
a.
Yeah, like clarify.
Like,
warning-
we're not doing it to put in like a climbing wall, we would only be doing it for things that were truly unsafe.
Somebody has the
I'm looking.
warning. Is it on the warning? How's it
It
listed on the
says,
warning?
towards the Heartland
Heartland School.
Elementary School playground.
But if we rescinded
So
it and
then
put
we
a
could
new
put
Article
something
4
else.
forward, could we say like, you know, up to $75,000 for, you know, necessary safety improvements to building and grounds?
On the second ballot.
Mm-hmm.
On the.
On the second ballot, so we just do 1 through 3.
Yeah, and the second ballot for capital reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Is that specific enough?
well, I think that, I think that if we pull 5, it's gonna be confusing to people to see what, like, to have 4 on there, as much as like,
Yeah.
but I wonder how many people, if they understand that, like, no new tax dollars, like, nothing new is happening with this $75,000, like, it's not coming, it's not adding to
Yeah.
taxes, just coming out of a fund.
There is so much that's confusing about this stuff. that
Yeah.
You can count on
You can kind of
everybody
confused
being
in a different
confused
way.
about some part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent, until I had an epiphany with Ed today, I've been confused.
I guess I think, and again, it's not in any effort to try to evade transparency.
No.
It's just that we are changing our mission. Before this became so clear that this was gonna be such a budget crisis, our mission was to create a better
Safe
playground
place.
with more, you know, cool
more
features.
accessibility.
And what we realized is that these sort of, you know, more indulgent things are not appropriate this year. What we're saying is our pure purpose of using the $75,000 would be to make sure kids are safe on the playground, right? So it's not really
Yeah,
about like
totally.
playground improvements,
Yeah.
it's like necessary
Get the
safety.
slide
Yeah, like if there are things, I mean, I have a daughter who's already broken an arm on a school, on a town playground. I feel like, you know, we need to like make sure they're safe.
I mean, the reality is it's very important. I don't think of a playground as being, you know,
It's
an
not frivolous.
extra thing. I mean, kids have to have that
Right.
as a part of their day. But I get that maybe we have to wait until next year.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
because of what
Is
we're
there
asking,
anything
what
that we
we're
can
asking
do
for
to
people
improve the
already.
middle school? I mean, right now they just play in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Like it seems like. That's-
Yeah, and there's,
Maybe when
in
the
terms
woods are
of
done,
like
there'll be
the
more
playground
that
itself
people
is
can see the woods.
because of part of it, because of how old it is not safe for middle school sized children.
Yeah.
Which, so there's a factor in the
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
But so the thing that I'm wondering is if we keep the capital reserve warning article, and then we do learn that we can get the playground through infrastructure,
We don't have to use the Article 4, right? We're just saying up to, that it gives us the
Yeah,
opportunity.
but if we say we
to do it.
had get all these funds from the capital reserve, then we don't.
Yeah, leave
Touch
it
it.
alone, yeah.
Right?
I think it just gives us a pop-off valve, you know, if we're taking out these things in the budget, it just gives us an opportunity like to fix things that really like have to be fixed.
Yeah, I have. Do you think? Can we fix it? Like it's metal.
I know, and that's, I
Are
would
you-
have to ask.
Well, fixing just means removing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some
I
things
mean,
that
we
can
can
start.
start.
Yes, I think it's more than just removing, just, if it was a different part of a playground, it could be as simple as removing, but because it's a slide, and then that leaves you this area that could be fallen from or something, so it may not necessarily be just as simple as a removal. That's not to say it's not impossible.
Well, we could weld something back onto
Yeah.
it, but then it's not safety
It can be
rated.
fixed.
I don't know if our insurance is gonna be happy with a welder.
So I would have to follow up with Jim Tacton, Buildings and Grounds, and our insurance to have a more clear answer.
So we're also meeting on Thursday to look at the SU budget. So we can choose, I think what makes sense for tonight, I'm just backing up a step, is to choose which cuts we want to make. And I think we're pretty close on that. And then have you guys sort that all out. We have the meeting Thursday to look at what we might do with the supervisory union budget, which impacts our budget, so we can't vote on a new budget today. And then come back Monday.
But those
Tuesday.
SU assessments,
We have to do it Friday.
well, if we want to warn it within 30 days, but the SU assessments, we won't know. We'll know on Thursday. They'll figure that out.
Okay. We'll know on Thursday. Scott's got a
And then
special
we
meeting
present
Friday.
another budget that we kind of have an idea about.
Do we warn it, so it goes out like by paper, but does it, I don't think we need to have another informational meeting, do we?
I think we do, but I think it can be a lot shorter.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, so I think it's by Friday, if I did the math correctly, that we need to warn it.
When would
Well,
the second?
that is with the vote, for the election on April 2nd, which is
Right.
and that would be better
because then it gives you another week, right? for
Yeah.
Contracts.
And it's a week before vacation.
Right, we don't want to have a vote during vacation week.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, so do we want to vote on rescinding the budget?
Yes. Are you rescinding just the article specific?
I think we're gonna article four and
and
five.
five, okay.
So,
So I'll rescind,
You'll
that's a
amend your budget,
motion,
your-
motion to rescind Article 4 and Article 5.
yeah. So you-
Second.
Okay, we can do, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? No. Okay, so
So
we
those are gonna
rescinded.
get- Those are gonna get Xed out on the warning. Yep. Articles 4 and 5, and the ballot, they'll vote on the other things on the ballot on Tuesday.
And Colleen will officially not be a board member on Tuesday.
Bless you. We need to have somebody.
Right, so you
And-
need to email everyone if you want us to do a write-in.
We need 30, I talked to Brian, we need 30, we just need 30 people to write this one person's name in.
Okay.
So we can.
30 voters.
30 voters. So just out of curiosity, how can you publicize that? Like, could I
Are
go
there
to the
rules about
listserv
it?
and say,
I don't know, I personally would
well,
not
that's
go on the
political,
listserv.
right? Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's social media. I don't like it. I would email each of us and each of us send an
Okay.
email.
Okay.
Like our spouses.
I got a crew.
I know,
Yeah.
between all of us and our spouses and our friends.
I mean, people are gonna get duplicate emails, especially between Hannah and I, but.
That's not me, just clearing this up.
Be a little crossover.
There's a lot going on right now. It's a big deal.
But
Okay.
yeah, Rob
Right,
can help you.
Between all of us,
There's 30.
there's plenty.
Yeah. So, but I've asked Colleen to stay engaged. She won't be able to vote, but to.
Yeah.
To be present, because I'm not sure we can handle it.
I mean, I started with
If
it.
you want her on, you can say the whole warning, and the vote doesn't happen until after the.
I want to get that moving, I think. Yeah, because we have somebody that's ready.
She's happy to go on, but
And it,
again,
I would miss losing Colleen's vote, but we can still ask for her voice.
yes, do you want to go voice too?
Look, she's smiling about that.
The baby makes me smile. I have still mixed feelings about stepping out. I enjoy doing it.
You're welcome to join us. Okay, so.
We can write you into.
I know, we can write you.
Yes, we voted.
Okay.
Yep, it was positive.
So 4 and 5 are gone. Okay.
4 and 5 are
So
gone.
next steps is that we need to make a plan to come together to review on Friday.
Yes.
How do people feel about like trying to do something daytime on Zoom? Yeah, it's PTO night at Harpoon, and so I feel
And
like.
it's also CrossFit night, CrossFit afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock at school, and it's
I don't know
CrossFit
what-
open.
So Manascutney is 8:30 on Friday morning, and it will be a vote, and it'll be a 5-minute. So the numbers are already, tonight, I think you kind of do a straw poll on what you agree to. Yeah. Cuts, and then Friday, we have all the correct numbers from the.
And we literally just go in and say like, yes?
Yes.
Okay, I will
So
try
we
to
wanna
find,
say
I can
9
probably find a
a.m.
substitute to teach my class for.
What time works for you? Like, do you
Um,
have a good break where you can?
Yes, at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
At 11 o'clock,
Friday?
I'm off this week.
oh,
Oh, I was gonna say, Beth, what's your
10 more
schedule?
days of maternity leave.
I can
so-
do 11.
10 more days.
Well, yeah, when is next Monday? Monday the 11th, I go back. So like,
Are you okay?
I thought you were going back.
my husband's not going back.
Lucky.
No, I'm just kidding.
Just saying.
So it'll be a, what's today, Tuesday? Be a special meeting, doesn't have to be emergency.
Okay.
Special
Yeah,
meeting,
we can work.
Well, it's that nighttime.
virtual only, March 1st at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
Okay.
That's awesome. Thanks, friends.
Yep.
Mhm.
And when do you want to have your election? April 2nd, same as Manascutney?
What day is April 2nd?
It's a Tuesday.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
is there anything else going on that day that could affect voters from coming out? That anyone knows of?
When VTCAP testing starts.
Oh, that sounds right. That's why no one's coming out that day.
It's the first.
Okay.
It's also our normal scheduled April board meeting,
It is actually
the 2nd.
April.
That evening, yeah, because polls won't be closed by then.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have board members by then.
And
So
what
that's
will it
one of
look
the
like? It will
advantages.
be by Australian ballot, correct,
Yes.
still? Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
they'll set up polls and
They'll set up.
And they
polls.
will be here, right? They're
Where does it normally take place?
downstairs.
downstairs.
Yeah.
We should have the same location.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, you would just look at the warning and do the same information.
Okay.
And then we have to do another informational session. If we're required to by, I don't know, what's the law now? The law changed.
I mean, I would
Toss it
feel
all
weird
up
if
in
we
the air.
didn't have another informational meeting, only because I feel like I want people to know, like, what we're
Yeah.
out to do.
Oh, I agree.
And I think that they need
Yeah,
to know that, like,
The action.
if we keep going, again, that like, and again, the idea that voting no, the only person that really hurts are the
Are the
poor
kids.
kids. It's the only thing that hurts. It's not sending a message to the state.
Right, yep.
The state doesn't.
And on those notes, if you guys like feel like you have something that you want to articulate to the town and you want me to take the heat for it,
What
send it my
notes?
way.
No, I think it was good. I think the messaging was.
I
Well
thought,
done.
yeah, tonight went really well.
Okay, you can take credit if you.
There you go.
Okay.
Friday, and then Christine, I don't know the days again, so, yeah, it's gonna have to be warned by,
I think you might need a diaper change.
yes, Sunday
Tuesday?
the 3rd,
I mean,
or March the 1st, Friday.
Good thing we got an extra day on Thursday.
I know, right?
And my calendar does not have the meeting that is typically the first Tuesday in March.
We have it next week, tomorrow, next week, a week from.
My larger calendar does not have that. Does yours?
I have school meeting, March 5th.
I only have my own individual.
Oh, it's moved to the 12th.
Day?
Oh.
Yeah,
It's
didn't we move
because
it?
we can't have
Do
a
you want-
meeting because we don't really have a quorum.
Oh,
Yeah, it got moved to the 12th.
Because
okay.
the ballot wouldn't have been tallied.
Oh, so the meeting is on the 12th?
Yeah.
What day is the 12th?
So the Tuesday.
Oh,
It's just the following
psych.
Tuesday.
Okay.
That makes my life
Meeting
so
moved to
much
the 12th.
easier.
It's the same night as.
Just our
Weathersfield,
regular
so
school board meeting,
Okay.
because it was.
We'll be okay.
Texas.
Although you're the one that's supposed to organize us, but
Yeah,
Lindsay or Alina can organize us.
take a motion.
Yeah, that's fine.
So when do you think you want your informational meeting?
I was just trying to think about that, like, do we want it really close to the vote? So that, the week before, okay.
Can it not be on a Monday or a Wednesday? Tuesday is good.
I mean, we
We usually do it on
Tuesday and
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So the 26th.
of
Maybe
March.
the 26th, yeah.
Feel like I'm like looking over your shoulder.
I'm sick of seeing
Yes.
you.
I know.
What?
My husband's so confused. He's like, I thought it was like one meeting a month.
Normally.
We're 3 in 1 week.
Sorry.
Try being on the
That's where we
negotiations
started
team.
with you.
By being on the SU board.
So
No, I think I got
Tuesday,
you beat.
March 26th? Okay. And you want us to try to get a new, copy of the budget for town meeting day? With that, you have the wrong budget in your informational budget. Your town report.
Oh.
And the books are,
I mean, does it make sense to make an announcement that day at town meeting about the school budget? And you can make an announcement at the meeting, to at least let people know they're, you're not voting on this budget.
Yeah.
So if we can get that done, it might be helpful.
Oh, and just like leave paper copies somewhere.
Yeah. We'll try.
Yeah.
Nikki, would it be helpful if I tried to find some time during, because I know it's a lot of it is floor votes, is it here next Tuesday?
Yeah.
Would it be helpful for me to just, like, you and I could do it together, I could try to find some time to step away, if not, that's okay, I'm happy to stay, and do the normal school day things.
I don't know. There's no like time for announcements because it's so regimented.
Okay, so maybe.
you could ask Matt Dunn, is the moderator.
I know, we could ask Matt how that would work.
Because I mean, it is so wacky of a circumstance.
Like,
It
have you
is.
ever done this before? Has this ever been done?
Not that I know
Can I help you?
of. No, I mean, like, seriously, most of my years on the board, we were looking at like 10 cents as the maximum
Yeah, yeah.
increase.
Well, this is unprecedented.
And now we're looking at
16 cents.
I think that was the one thing that I think was
Without the
like a
CLA.
little bit unfortunate that didn't get communicated, but it's fine. It's just that that it looked like the budget went up 15%, but in truth, when we did the weighted people, it was less than 10% increase, which is like, so that, I mean, it's fine because we're rescinding it, but it almost appeared like it was a wildly increased budget, but in truth, for the weighted pupil, it was really within the original.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did try to make the point that if it weren't for the CLA, our taxes would be lower than they are this year.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't either until I was running the numbers. And I was like, wait a second, that's less than this year. Well, because the numbers changed from when we were originally.
Right.
at them.
Right, it's shifting sand. Also,
is.
I learned that from Ed.
Yeah.
That term. I mean, that he's experiencing that. I'm like, oh, they're throwing numbers at you all the time, right? They're just adjusting.
Okay, I think we can do a motion to adjourn.
So are we good so that on Friday, we can like get some numbers, say yes, and then walk out? Okay, I just want to make sure that.
I'm sorry, is it okay if I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm Crystal from Valley News, I'm just, the informational meeting on the 26th, what time is that?
It's traditionally at 7 o'clock here.
We'll do this again next month.
Yeah, we'll just do it again.
We'll see you again.
Same bat channel.
Yep.
Thank you, sorry.
Yeah, no, just gonna do it all. It's just gonna be deja vu.
Let's all wear the same outfits.
Okay.
Groundhog Day.
I have like 3 nice outfits.
Am I allowed to email everybody, like, the person who would like to run, be put on the, so that you guys can spread the name that way? Like, can I email everybody?
Yeah,
Like,
I
is
mean-
that okay to?
yeah, I don't see.
Individually.
Individually?
Should email the whole
Okay.
board.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll email you each individually then.
yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I mean, that's not school business. And I would actually say, like, if you have our personal emails,
Probably better, personally.
I would.
Maybe I'll just text you, I don't want to text you, 'cause- or I can, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
You'll
Figure it
figure
out.
it out.
I'll
I mean,
figure
it's
it out.
not school business, but it's also not a good look.
Okay.
So, okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh,
That's
go home
seconds.
and go to bed. I've literally not been to my house.
All in favor?
Thank you, Hannah.
Are we supposed to do something with this room?
I have no idea.
No, that, we're gonna let Brian.
Let Brian do that as last official business besides.
Last year, I
Sharpie's
know you needed to.
$3,000.